evening, and today we're discussing innovative and continuous improvement for productivity. And of course, we're looking at the solutions that go with that. Today, I'm being joined by Tamar Nelson, who is the Executive Director and Chief Technical Officer for the Jamaica Productivity Center. Some of you might have heard of it, but it has been spearheading productivity solutions and improvement over the last number of years. And you might ask, why should we be discussing productivity? Why are we looking at continuous improvement? And you know where we are in Jamaica and the world today. So we know that productivity is important for any kind of bounce back, any kind of improvement that we want to do. And Jamaica's productivity has been what we lacking for a number of years. But Tamara and her team have been working on this assiduously with a number of organizations and their teams, and they've been making inroads into many organizations, including the public sector and, of course, the manufacturing sector. So she has a lot to share with us today. But I always say that productivity without productivity, there's going to be no growth. And even more so, we need to bounce back and we need to recognize what are the deficiencies we have, what are the efficiencies we have, and we need to assess our processes and our systems, both our organizations and our personal lives, because productivity is not only about organizations, but how we live our lives as people. It gives us the opportunity to change, to investigate, to measure, to validate, to reorganize, to restructure, to evaluate, look at best practices, share the best practices, and to become intentional about how we do things and look at the whys. It's time for us to become more innovative. And of course, as I said, look at continuous improvement. And there's one thing, Tamar, that people are always saying. If productivity means loss of jobs, it means that you're going to have to work harder. Some employers say, well, it's more capital outlay, more money being spent. So I really want you to just take it away, Tamar, and just give us your take on it, what your center has been working on, and some of the real takeaways that we want our listeners to have today on productivity improvement and continuous improvement in their organizations and the personal life.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jackie, for that introduction. And thank you, Maker Mark, for having the Jamaica Productivity Center with you this evening. And to you, all our listeners and those who are joining in, it's really a privilege to be here today to be sharing with you some of what we have been doing and some of the concepts of productivity and really, some things that you can employ starting today, tomorrow, that will help you through this pandemic. And, I'll be speaking about something that not only am I passionate about, but the team that I have working with me at the Productivity Center, we're all very, very passionate about the whole matter of productivity. Because as, one of the saying that we have at the Productivity Center is that productivity affects everyone and everyone affects productivity, right? It is everybody's business. So, I'm looking forward to the dialogue with you today and for you to take away something that can help you to improve your own situation. And as rightly mentioned by Jackie, the Jamaica Productivity Center is a national productivity organization in Jamaica, and we are the oldest of its kind in the region. And we are charged with the mandate of facilitating and helping to facilitate growth and improvement in our economy. And what better time to do so than right now, where everybody is focused on how might we do better, how can we improve, how can we jumpstart the economy, right? And one of the things we have found pre-COVID-19, as Jackie mentioned, that there are many misconceptions as it relates to productivity and what it really is. Persons are scared when they hear about it sometimes, as rightly said, they think it means loss of jobs. Some persons just find it downright scary to change or unsurmountable or something that they can't afford to do or have the time to do, right? Or it's just not for them. But what I hope in the next few minutes that I have with you now, I want you to bear with me because I could speak on this for a whole week. But we have a few minutes, and I'd like to demystify some of that tonight, this evening, and to practically share with you some examples of what can be done, or areas that you can look at as managers, as leaders in your respective organizations or business owners to see how might we make things better or improve or just to keep moving forward during this time. And some of the things that we have been seeing, you know, in the economy, and I'm sure if you haven't experienced it yourself or know of somebody, you know somebody who is going through it, it relates to, you would hear panic, overwhelm, uncertainty. You see companies closing, filing for bankruptcy. Others are just downright scared. And can only imagine that these things will only have a negative impact on our economy as we go forward. And, so in terms of now, and can be self-defeating. So looking at the whole matter of productivity, before I go into what we can do, is just to kind of give a definition for what productivity is, right? And it means different things to different people. And there's a mathematical definition, which is the output over input, or how efficiently and effectively you deliver your product or service, doing doing things right and doing it the right way, the right things the right way. There's also a philosophical definition for productivity, and if anybody who knows me would know that this is my favorite definition of all times. And I'm just gonna share it with you this evening. And interestingly, it was written in 1959 after the Second World War, and it was formulated in Rome by the Productivity Committee of the European Productivity Agency. And it defined productivity as follows: that productivity is above all a state of mind. It's an attitude that seeks the continuous improvement of what exists. It is a conviction that one can do better today than yesterday, and that tomorrow will be better than today. Furthermore, it requires constant efforts to adapt economic activities to ever changing conditions and the application of new theories and methods. It is the firm belief in the progress of humanity. Ladies, gentlemen who are listening in, I'm sure you would agree with this statement, and that is, it cannot be ever more applicable than right now.
Very
That
much so.
it starts in the mind, right? You would agree that what we need right now is that attitude that seeks for continuous improvement of what exists. That we all need that conviction that today is a better day than yesterday, and that tomorrow will be better than today. And that we all need to constantly put our efforts into adapting to the economic activities that's ever changing, because every day you may need a different strategy or methodology to adapt to what's happening, right? And the application of new theories and methods. And it is the firm belief in the progress of humanity that we all do what is needed to move forward, right? So, with that said, I will now go into some practical things that persons can do in our businesses can do in terms of improving productivity. And how I'll frame the next couple of minutes is using something that I learned as an industrial engineering student about 2 decades ago. I'm aging myself, but and it's the the 5 M's of production, sometimes called the 5 M's of management, right? So the 5 M's are: one, man; two, money; three, method; four, machines; and five, material, right? So I'll go through them individually and discuss how those apply to productivity and going through the situation that we're faced with right now. Now, the whole matter of man and in industrial engineering, the human resource is considered the most important resource that you have, right? And we always, that line of engineering always considers the human factor in anything that is done. And resources or other resources are input, the capital and the machines. They can't act by themselves. They need to be mobilized and they need to be allocated. And when I speak about man, it's not only the employees, but also your customers. And at this time, we have to ensure that both our employees and our customers are one, safe, and two, that we are connected to them, right? So safe meaning we'll do whatever is necessary to have them operate in safe conditions. At this time, it may mean putting in other measures, sanitizing the space more often, giving them the right PPEs, and from an employee perspective, and connected meaning staying in touch to see what challenges they are faced with, etc. That may affect their well-being and productivity, ultimately productivity. On the customer side, it is important to stay connected because their needs and values and wants may change as the days go by. You want to ensure that you are able to continuously add value to those customers. And one of the things that I often tell the clients that we have been in contact with is that whatever we do now will affect what happens in the future in terms of, to our clients. So we need to keep them informed. We need to, reach out to them. So these are things that we can do even while on the lockdown. I mean, make a phone call, and what this time does provide is the opportunity to make some very, very deep connections at this time. So we want to make use of those opportunities. And, that's something that the JPC has been doing and will be doing, continuously doing. And if you haven't reached out to yet, we will be pretty soon to just kind of find out what, how persons are doing, what are they faced with, and how we can better serve them. And what I've found is that some persons, they just need a little encouragement or just to brainstorm something. And that call sometimes turn into a little coaching session and may end up being about half an hour. But it's good, and it's a practice that I think other businesses can do, whether it's your suppliers, whether it's your customers, to have that discussion and dialogue with them even during this period. So that's something that we can look at. Right? The other M is money. And money is very critical at this time. And you'll hear us say that cash is king. So at this time, persons, businesses, even on a personal level, we have to look at how we are doing business and to look and see where it is that we are wasting money, right? Because we need to conserve and to keep that cash so that we can keep afloat. And while I had the opportunity a few years ago to study the Japanese improvement systems and to actually provide improvement consultation to some of the industries and the businesses there. And one of the things that they are big on is the whole matter of what they call Kaizen, or change for good. In the Western world, it's known as lean. And one of the concepts in that is what they call the seven wastes. And that was, about 10 years ago when I went to Japan and did that go through all across Japan. And, since then it has moved from 7 to now 10 wastes that companies can look at and identify and see, okay, can I save or cut down my expenses, in these areas. And I won't have the time to go into each, but I'll just name a few of them right now. One of them is transportation, inventory, motion, waiting, over processing, overproduction, defects. Um, those are the original seven. Added to that now is the underutilized talents that we have in our organization, or ineffective performance measures, and poor supplier quality, right? So, these are things that you could go in depth to see, okay, am I over processing, right? How can I be more efficient? And I've been seeing companies who have been applying some of these methods. So, before you would have to, for example, go in, you'd have to collect, uh, you know, you're driving into a business place, you need a little car that you get at the gate by the security. Because of what's happening now, you no longer have to, for example, collect that. But what happens is that you flow in a lot quicker, so you are in and out a lot faster. Um, you know, there are some systems that would find when we audit, do our productivity audits at the JPC, and to get a product out or a service out, you have to go through several security checks where you have to sign this paper, sign that paper, sign, and those are extra steps in the process that cost a company. And so I would go to a business place now, and they're like, "Oh, you don't need to sign anything; you're good." And I'm in and out in no time. And I'm like, wow, I'm enjoying this. Why didn't we think of this before? But so it just forced us to really look at our processes and to see, okay, where do I need to cut things out, to make things simpler, right? And utilize what I have. And that's a principle of Kaizen and Lean. And at the JPC, we do training in these methods more in depth, and our team is, as I said before, on hand and ready to share more with you on this, right? So that's money. The third is our methods, and I kind of touched on it when I spoke about Kaizen and Lean. But one thing that a pandemic does is that it shines a spotlight on your areas of weaknesses in your systems. And that's true for every organization right now. So, whatever the weakness was before this pandemic, what's happening now, it has shone like a light, a bright light on it. And, what I have told persons in the discussions I've had is not to ignore them, but to fix it. Now is the best time to work on these and to fix them. So in a company, different companies, what it may be communication, it may be logistics, it may be the quality of the inputs, it may be marketing, it may be that the company was not utilizing technology and everything was hands-on and face-to-face. And then here comes this pandemic that has shone this light. Oh my goodness, I have nothing online. How am I going to work from home? And it creates a big panic. So, this is something that we really need to look at. What are these processes within our system that needs to be worked on? So if we find that communication is our problem right now, it's good to form a team, or to help to work on this, right? So what the worst thing to do is to ignore it, because working on these things right now will create a platform that post this pandemic, the organization will be able to run more efficiently and more effectively. And working on those problems, usually as leaders, managers, we really don't have the time to really focus on it. We may, have some more free time now, or maybe able to reallocate resources to focus on these problems, which would then gear us up for, revving up the economy going forward, right? So it may mean for a company setting up different platforms, using the technology, using client resource management systems, you know, so it's a good time to work on those issues that affect your productivity, right? So that's the third M. The fourth M is machines. And when we speak of machines, it may be, it may not be something in manufacturing, it may be your computer. Um, you know, up to just this afternoon, one, you know, teacher, doing her Zoom classes with her students, and she had a computer that was about 10 years old. So every time it shuts down, she's not able to. So it affects the productivity of her teaching her classes and the students, being interrupted, etc., not being able to log in and that kind of thing. So we really need to ensure that we have optimal tools working with. And there is one KPI that we learn as engineers and in reliability and also in lean, and that is overall equipment effectiveness. And I like this measure because it's a KPI, but it also can apply to not only production but also services. And this measure is a function of availability, performance, and quality. And I think these are three key things that as business and organizations we can pay attention to at any given time, right? So the kind of equipment that we have will affect our output and the yield of that output, right? Or the conversion rate. And at this time, we can't afford to be producing or doing things that are effective or that have to be redone because that's just costing money that could be used to do something else, right, within the organization. The fifth point is that of material. And this is one thing that during our interventions with organizations that we have found, pre-COVID, a lot of. And this may be due to many factors. And when we say material, in particular speaking of inventories. And, we find a lot of our clients with cash tied up in a lot of inventory. And what happens is that, using again the seven, it's also as one of the 10 wastes. And inventory ties up cash, it gets damaged, it's pilfered, it expires, etc. You don't want to be throwing away money at this point. So in terms of inventory, whether it's raw, finished, or work in progress, we need to ensure that it's just what is needed for the next steps. I know that with the pandemic, it will affect logistics, and so we have to be very careful and mindful of what we order, how we order, and the quality of the goods we order to ensure that we have proper cash flow in our business. So this is something that we can also look at in going forward. So those are the five M's, right? But I will also add two more to that five. And that's something that I always like to do, right? And you see everything now, all of the man, the money, the method, the machine, and the material, all ties back to the mission of your organization, going back to that why, right? And if you look at your strategic plan right now, usually you have an annual review. I think right now you need to do it every 2 weeks, right? To look at why are we doing what we do and how can we continue to serve our stakeholders, right? So our strategies may need to change very rapidly. And I think, Jackie, when we were talking earlier today, you spoke about the Jamaican culture as a sprint culture, We like things fast. We run fast. We're not in the long distance. We like things fast, quick, right? And rapid. And we are in a time that things change very rapidly. So how we operate today, we may need to shift tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
And so one of the principles in agile and scrum methodology is some short sprints. And at this time, we recommend that companies look at that. So every 2 weeks, do it in short sprints. What that will do, it will help you to be agile and flexible to what's happening in an environment, but it will also help to motivate the business, the staff members, the employees, the customers as to, okay, we're getting somewhere, we're getting somewhere. And I know that I can speak for myself, especially when this pandemic hit, I'm a person that will have, a to-do list that's like, from here to there, and like to keep on top of things and plan and strategize and have everything down to a science.
Mhm.
But at this time, I have had to reframe my thinking
Every day.
and have to say, okay, it's all good. I didn't get everything, but I did get some things. And
Mhm.
there is one person that has coined something that I forgot his Darren, I think his name is micro wins. So, every day look at three small things that you can check
Yeah.
off and say, all
Yeah.
right, okay, I got those three things done. I get 3 out of 3 today, 2 out of 3 tomorrow, but I might, do a little more, so you take your role with it, and as organizations, I think it's also applicable where we look at mini sprints, just to keep us going and to keep moving forward, because that is key. And the other M I'd add is that just encapsulates everything else that we need is good leadership and management,
Mhm.
right? Going forward. And the times like this will draw on different leadership skills. And if we didn't have it, we really have to try and develop that. Some of these skills would include coaching, a lot of coaching, and making those connections, speaking to our employees, because I mean this time we're going through not only affects the economy, but it also has psychosocial impacts, and it can how um, affect your organization severely. And it's something
Mhm.
that we all have to manage, and we probably didn't have to deal with before on such a wide scale. But we have to keep connected with our employees,
Mhm.
to find out what's happening, and to
Mhm.
also so we have to really be there to not only be intentional and to show up, but to serve and to do all of this creatively and innovatively, so that we can then allow the team to be free to come up with those out of the box ideas which we do need right now. So I
Mhm.
know before you'd hear somebody say something way out and you run them out of the room. Now is the time to listen to that person and welcome them and say, what was that idea you had? And implement it. You have nothing to lose at this time.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's in a nutshell, my M's, which 5 + 2 M, 7 in all, right? That
Tamar, before you move on,
sure.
waste. How does the organization identify waste? What is the process? A simple process to identify waste. And
Well,
and the other thing I want to ensure is that people understand what waste means, because I remember the first time some years ago when we were discussing waste, and many
right,
of the employees and even employers thought waste was just about dumping. Waste was something that you didn't need. It was an item you dumped. That's what they thought waste was.
right.
Um, so I don't know if you might want to just touch on what is waste
Oh, sure.
and how do you identify waste that we need to deal with.
Okay. A simple way of, you know, defining and identifying what waste is anything that does not add value to your customers. So it's anything that your customer is not willing to pay for. So for example, if I go to a business place and I go to purchase something, I want the item. So I want to just go in, identify the item, take the item and leave, pay for it and leave. Now, if I have to go through several security checks to get to the product, I can hardly see the product. I have to wait to get somebody to get it for me. Then I have to join a very long line to pay for it. And then I have to do several other security checks to leave. Um, those things are what doesn't add value to me because all I want to do is to come in, get the product, and leave. Now, those other processes are internal to the business that the business needs to take care of. And ask the question, for example, why are the queues so long? Why does it take an hour to get my food at lunchtime, or to buy that paint from the hardware, right? Why does it take so long? Why can't I just go pay for it and leave? The company or organization may have several issues why that is so, and they need to look at it and say, okay, the customer gets angry when they come in. We lose people that way because they will go somewhere else where they can get the product a lot faster. So you look at the process and see, okay, they don't want to join a long line. How can I fix that? They're not willing to pay for that. They're not paying for, I have an internal problem with pilferage. They don't really care about that. They want their products. I need to fix that within my organization so that pilferage is done, so that person can just come in and out. So I set up another system that will ensure that only what is paid for leaves the organization, but it doesn't hamper the customer. So, I may have a very big space, right? And so the customer now has to go from here over to another side of the building and then go another place to just get the process completed. Why not think about the process and put things closer together so that the person can come in and out? Because the quicker you apply the service to get the service or the product out through the door, it's the lower the cost to you and the less waste, right? And that's what you want because you'll increase your throughput. And we go through an in-depth session identifying all of the different ways and how you can identify them. We have done that with several teams so that the teams within your organization can identify and then help the company to improve. Because we transfer that knowledge because guess what? In Japan, they would say it's a person at Gemba that knows what's happening. And Gemba is what they call on the shop floor, right? So the person who is where the time is. So they know what needs to be fixed. They know how to get things, or they know how to improve the process. And so you give that power to them, that knowledge to them, and let them come up with the ideas and so forth. So that's what we do. We empower the teams and give them the tools so that they can continuously improve their process. Because once you fix one bottleneck, it's going to move somewhere else. So it's not a sprint; it's a continuous process.
Another thing I have noticed over time is that when you speak of productivity, people believe it applies to just a factory,
No,
and you're manufacturing something. So how can you demystify that
right.
to bring it down to the level of any service industry, whether you run a beauty shop, a technology business? What do you want to say on that?
Right. So, in whether it's a product or a service, productivity and improvement of productivity is important. You know, you'd hear about you want to deliver that service or product at the lowest cost, in the shortest time, at the highest quality, that has all the safety measures in place to keep both who has produced it and are serviced, or who is being serviced safely and in the right environment and not affected the environment negatively. And that goes for whether it's a service, whether you are in healthcare, beauty, manufacturing, agriculture, it doesn't matter. You are either producing a good or a service, and it goes through a process. And anything that has different wheels turn and different processes, there is room for improvement.
Okay. All right. Sorry I disturbed you. You can go on.
No, right. So I want this to be a discussion. So I don't know if persons have questions, but that they would like to ask. I could answer those directly. Let me see if there are any
No, you
questions.
can proceed, and as a
Right.
are you have questions there?
No, I'm not seeing any. Let me just see.
I hear people are just taking notes, so I think you need to continue, Mrs. Nelson.
Okay.
People are focused on your recommendations. They take notes.
All
So
right. Okay. So, since I have a little, because I wanted to kind of have persons to have Q&A, but if I have some more time, I would then shift a little, I'll speak a little more on the leadership perspective in terms of and how critical it is at this time. And, this, as I said before, is a time to really be visible, to show up and to be vocal. And, I like to use, things to help to remember and support. And I have 4 E's. One,
before you leave though, I
sure.
really want you to touch a little more on the Kaizen.
Uh-huh.
I'm always fascinated by it. So
Right.
I know it'll take a lot of time, but I want you to touch a little more on the Kaizen before you
Right,
go.
right. Okay, so
Anyway, go ahead with your ease.
so you want me to do the E's first and then go back to the Kaizen, or you want me to do the Kaizen first?
You flow
All
well,
right, let me do the Kaizen.
whichever one you think will do better for you.
Sure, Jackie. As I said before, Kaizen is a change for good, right? So it is a system or a culture of continuous improvement. And what it does is it involves not just the leaders, but everyone in the organization. So everyone plays a part in terms of contributing to the continuous improvement process. So it's not left to the managers to sit down and try to figure it out. As I said before, you have to go to Gemba. And I remember even while I was observing the different industries across Japan, and we had our sensei that would be doing that knowledge transfer, and we had about um, 6 of us, from all over the world, going through these various industries, going to Panasonic, Toyota, Denso, Omron, and seeing these huge corporations and seeing how they apply the whole principle of Kaizen. And, I remember us there trying to figure out, all right, how we're going to improve their system because they're already perfect. And we sat there in the conference room there trying to figure out things, and our sensei came in very, very, very red, and I'm sure he was cursing us in Japanese. We just don't understand it. And he was like livid, and the interpreter, what a nice, decent young lady, and she wouldn't tell us those words. And she put it nice, and she's like, you guys need to get up off your rear and go out on the floor. You cannot improve unless you are on the floor where the things action is happening. So you cannot be a
Leadership.
consultant and sit in an office and say you're improving, or you start you up on the floor, you look down. No, you have to be there to really and be there real time. So in learning about Kaizen, it's something I studied in college before, but actually going there and being there now, you see it in action. So seeing it in action, you'd see, for example, the president of the company in overalls like everybody else on the floor working with the other persons, right? So he doesn't have a fancy office. He has a standing desk right on the floor, and he's there. So if something goes wrong, it's immediately fixed, etc. He only leaves when he's meeting with clients and customers and so forth, right? So it involves
And you said this was the
everybody.
president. This was the president, right? This
This is
was
the
the
president.
president.
Yeah, yeah, right. And so you really have to go on the floor, and everybody has a part to play, and it's never done. So there's always room for improvement. So even if it's baby steps, right? It's once it's in the right direction, it's an improvement, and we just need to do that. And I know right now it may be hard, depending on the industry you're in, to make huge steps, but to look and to see, all right, this may be a good time to innovate a new product or start a new line or to do that service that the customers have been asking for a while. No, right? And we have been seeing even in our local situation where we have seen improvements in terms of some of the logistics that's happening, and getting our product or service to the people where they need it, right? It it's a people-based process of Kaizen. So and you know the communication is key. So nobody has a a weird idea or off. Everybody can contribute. Everybody can be a part of it, and actually, it is encouraged. It's not something that persons are necessarily paid for. So you get, but they get inner joy from knowing that they are making their environment, their company progress, and they are more efficient in what they do. So you will have different areas of a company, for example, that will have a list of all the improvement initiatives from every employee, and they would then be empowered to implement, right, on their own, the initiative, and then they would get the successes, and everybody benefits when the company benefits, right? So it's shared right across the board. And so if you, for example, have a company of 10 persons, and each employee gives one suggestion per day, even one per week, right? And there are 52 weeks, right? You'll have 52 suggestions per person multiplied by 10. That's 520 improvement suggestions. Now, can you imagine the gains and the benefits that a company would gain by empowering their people to just continuously make suggestions and improve, and the impact that it can have on that company and the morale of the persons as well. So that was what we saw. There's a little distinction between levels. Everybody worked together for the improvement process, and that's in a nutshell what Kaizen is about, right? Yeah.
Are there any organizations here that you see using that system consistently?
Yes, there are organizations that have, and even if they have not, I'm just checking to see if any questions have come in. No. Right. So, right, even if they're not using Kaizen, they're using Lean, and you have some companies locally who are, have Japanese roots that would be using some of they have to, right? Because especially if you are, even if you're in the at the end of the process, everybody in for example, like Toyota. So from the manufacturing right down to the distributor, they all have to practice the same thing, right? So from who comes in and the process and who gets it, everybody has to be practicing Kaizen principles. So, that's one example. Other companies use Lean and Six Sigma principles, which are very similar to Kaizen, but involves a lot more statistics and measurement focus. And so we have seen several companies and also have worked with several to help them to with their improvement journey. But especially at this time, it is key for every organization to just keep, let's say, just keep swimming, keeping the head above water, as Barry said, and put up a resistance.
Yeah. But how do organizations that are struggling now, some are looking at closing, some are downsizing. What is the opportunity for them at this time?
All right. So in terms of opportunities, it depends on the industry and the challenges that they face. Some, I know for some of the clients that we have, they were already on the brink of struggling pre-COVID, right? So this was like, that could, that last straw, so to speak. However, we have seen how, the resiliency of Jamaicans and some of these organizations in that they have found a way to pivot and to really um, to engage their clients and customers in different ways to keep things going, to keep things afloat, right? We have seen some that have closed physically, but they still work remotely and produce the good or service. Some are even reporting higher or more efficiency as a result of even putting everybody working remotely. So there are losses that we have seen, but we have seen persons really, really making some extreme efforts to keep going, to keep things afloat. Some have had to let persons go, and we are seeing where they have even tried to make other opportunities. Some don't, some have, to ensure that even when things pick up, but they can still have those resources available that they can draw on.
So what would you say to an organization in assessing where they are now? Assuming they're not maybe not doing business, things are slow. What kind of
Right.
assessment should they know for their productivity? Because there are some people are making money, but they're not productive either. So you
True.
look at two fronts: those who might be making money, but you're not productive. You could be making more, and there are those that are not making money, but this is the time now that you might want to be using to assess your level of productivity. What would you be saying?
Exactly. And you see, this is where measurement is key, right? And you can't improve what you're not measuring, right? So it is a good time to improve on your measurement systems because that would give you a great indication of what's working, what's not working, and hope what needs to be fixed. And that's something that we have found during our productivity audits at the center that persons have, our companies, organizations tend to shy away from in terms of having proper metrics and measurement systems. And sometimes, not sometimes, it does make it very difficult for us to even um, give recommendations in terms of solutions because we don't have that kind of data. And so what we have to do sometimes, many times when we go in to help organizations is to first develop measurement systems or create a proxy to kind of give an indication because otherwise we're just going on the gut feeling, right? And the best, they say the figures don't lie. So we have to use those metrics. If you have those metrics, to utilize them and to see where the bottlenecks are, what's working well, what isn't, and to make the necessary adjustments where that is happening. And as I said before, it's a really, really good time to get innovative, creative, and to work on those things that you always wanted to do that you didn't get to work on, and to really improve on what you have right now. And I've seen a lot of our clients doing so, pivoting, but still setting the platform for growth as we go through this period.
Mm. All right. So if you want to touch on your leadership, your 4 E's quickly.
Oh, sure. So in terms of leadership, I have 4 E's here in terms of enabling, right? So, this is a time where we have to enable our teams to be productive, to give them the tools that are necessary. So, it may be Wi-Fi, laptop connectivity. This is a time, the time that we can utilize to learn together, to coach, upskill, reskill. So these are things that we can look at right now and can be, can be done even remotely. As and these are things that we also have done at the Productivity Center amongst ourselves, is to use this time to sharpen some of the skills and finish that online program and so forth. And I'm very proud of the team in doing some of these things. And this will enable us to better serve our clients, right? And the next E is to engage, right? There's a lot of distractions happening. Persons are worried, job security. If you pay not too much attention, you can't pay too much attention to the news, and it can affect the clarity and focus that our employees have. So, we really have to engage them and, help them to be a part of the process in terms of moving forward and helping the company move forward so that they can better contribute. The third is to energize, right? And this energy is needed at this time because you have to find creative ways. And I was seeing something on one webinar where they're having and that's something I'm thinking of also employing is having web lunch hours, where they carry their lunch and they just zoom and chat a little bit, just to keep that sense of community and engagement. Or they will have a Zoom party as a, social, that kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah,
So,
we always
yeah,
recommend.
yeah, so I have to find creative ways to keep energized, energize ourselves and our teams as well, and to really continue to encourage, right? You know, to think about what they are going through. So I gave an example to, I think, a member of your team where, you may have a situation, for example, where you have a mother, a working mother, for example, that you could get her to do so much during between 8 and 5 o'clock, right, when she is in office. And she has 3 children, but she is the most productive worker you have. And here comes this pandemic, and now she has the 3 kids at home to homeschool. No, they are also at school between 8 and 2. That's the bulk of your work hour. Um, that employee, she may not, for example, be able to deliver between 8 and 5. You may have to employ a different strategy for her during this period, wherein she has 2 deliverables for that week, and she works out her time, right? So to deliver that task, that service, that offering, and
Right.
so that support and encouragement is going to be necessary, and being mindful of what is happening in terms of the different persons within your team, and to adjust accordingly. So we have, when we check in with our clients, they have different methods employed to keep things going during this time. And some persons, they every day they check in at 8 and they check in at 5 to make sure they check off and everything, and that works for them. But some, it's okay, I just need them come in at X and Y time and I'm good. And for others, they check in once or twice a week. So it depends on what is happening. But
Okay.
this is a great time to really um, build the team, build the connection, and to change the culture within your organization. And
Yeah.
so this is an opportunity that at this time, we can utilize, take advantage of, and just continue to move forward.
Okay. All right. So you would say come tomorrow morning or Monday morning, um, you would be asking the leaders of organizations to do what with, what should they be involved in, or what should they be engaged with to improve their productivity at this time? Just some your 5, 10 points.
Right. So I would say to just engage the employees to find out, how might we as an organization, remain relevant, um, add value at this time to our stakeholders, right? And that's what's going to help you to really succeed. Because as
Mhm.
leaders or managers, you can't do it by yourself. You're going to need the team and their support and their buy-in, and they have a lot of ideas, and it's to hear from them, empower them, and
Mhm.
try these new and innovative and creative ways. You might just be very well surprised at the
Mhm.
outcome of all of this.
Yeah. And the assessing of their situation at this time, doing the what you call the assessments, the evaluations, the measurement. This is a good time to do that.
In terms of performance, employee performance measurement, or
Yeah, there and your whole systems, your processes.
right, okay. In terms of organizational measurement, I would say yes, absolutely. And that is something that you'll be hearing from us at the JPC very soon, as we'll be looking at both the public and private sector and looking at what are some of the methodologies that have been employed and how it has impacted productivity. And I think every organization needs to look at that, because that is what a study like that will do, is to actually help to see what worked well and what didn't, right? And that's the kind of information we really need going post this pandemic, to actually do very well, right? So it will affect how we do things. So we would know, okay, all right, this doesn't work well, this works well. We can do more of this, etc. So, it's, even though things are scaled down, as it were, we can still be able to get some good data as it relates to the kind of policies and the effect that it has on businesses going forward. So measurement and keeping track of whatever is being put in place is fundamental and key at this point. As it relates to employee performance, it's always good to measure, right? We may have to make some changes based on what's happening into how and what we measure as it relates to employee performance, because things would have changed significantly in terms of how we do work. And, so before probably it's to sign in at a certain time and sign out at a certain time was the KPI. But right now it is output focused, you
Mhm.
know. So you would have to change whatever the structure was, and it would vary from organization to organization what that is. But you cannot go wrong with measurement at all,
Mhm.
right? And we'll be contacting, and so persons can just stay tuned to our Instagram page or Facebook page, and we'll be, reaching out to persons to share what their experience has been, and our aim is to do a compilation to really see, based on various industries, what has been employed, what worked, and what is working, so that we can share and continue, so that as a country we can move forward and really
Yeah.
jumpstart. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we have a lot to look forward to.
Yes.
There is post-COVID, and there are lots of opportunities. And you're saying, Tamar, that the Productivity Center has your team is ready and you have the tools, the expertise to assist not only manufacturing, but all types of organizations, public sector, private sector, service, just to look at their processes, their systems, measurements, and just to improve what they do.
Exactly. Yes, yes. And we have our team of experts that are on hand to speak to you, to help you. And we have moved our services to an online platform so we can do that sensitization and training remotely. So you can give us a call. Our numbers are 922-1598, and or we have our Facebook page, which is Jamaica Productivity Center, and our Instagram page is Jamaica Productivity. So just keep close to us. If you want to be added to our mailing list, just give us a call, and we will keep you informed and to help you through this time as best as possible.
Well, thank you, Tamar Nelson of the Jamaica Productivity Center. It has been a very, very good discussion. And feel free to contact us and contact JPC for just anything that is needed because
Right.
we have to bounce back. Our economy will bounce back. We don't have a choice. And we're resilient people and we love to win. We love to do things right. So we're gonna get this right. And this is just one way of
And
discussing how we can improve.
And Jackie, I want to thank you and the Make Your Mark team for having us this evening. It was indeed our pleasure. This is not our first time partnering, and we are always here and ready. And I want to also thank those who are tuned in, and I'm seeing some persons here from JICA, persons that we have met in various training sessions, and I just want to tell them, thank you very much for spending the evening with us.
Yes.
And I want everybody to just stay safe, stay sane, and stay calm, right? And to just keep moving forward,
Yes.
and we'll get through this. So thank
Yeah.
you again.
Yeah, man, we can do this together and we will. So thank everybody for tuning in. And we'll see you the next Leading from a Distance series because we're going to get through this together. Thank you,
Awesome.
everybody.
Bye. Have a good
Bye.
one.
Take care now.